Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Greetings to everyone listening in now live and for those listening in to the recorded session. I'm really excited today to talk about how to build and how one organization is building one of the world's largest repositories of good threat intelligence. My name is Amar Singh from Cyber Management Alliance Limited, and in partnership with Mimecast, we are bringing you this very knowledgeable, very informative topic. And I have a good friend of mine, Anoop Das, from dialing in from in Dubai. Anoop, good afternoon, Anoop.
Good afternoon or good morning, Amar. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and it's a global world, and we're all kind of dialing in from everywhere. But Anoop, if you do a brief introduction about yourself, and then we'll dive straight into the topic that I know there's so much to share. So over to you, just a brief introduction. I'll do a brief one, and then I'll hand back to you, sir.
Great, thank you. So I work for Mimecast. So Mimecast is a global organization focusing on cyber resilience. And I've been in this industry for a pretty long time now. I'm living in Dubai for last 14 years now, and I focus mainly assisting large organizations in the region. When I say the region, the Middle East and Indian subcontinent, to support their journey towards cyber resilience. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Anoop, thank you so much. Obviously, we're going to carry on after this, but my name is Amar. I'm the CEO of Cyber Management Alliance, and I've been in cyber, threat intel, data privacy for the last 20-odd years. And I'm really excited. Like I said, today it is all about, one, how Mimecast has done what they have done. They have a really huge, large customer base, and Anoop will tell you more about them. But Mimecast is synonymous with email and general kind of cybersecurity. But as a byproduct that many people don't know, Anoop, I think you agree, that many people actually don't know that one of Mimecast's strengths, if I may, is actually the fact that they've built and they continue building this crazily big threat intel repository. So Anoop, I'll hand over to you. You can also move along, and I'll be prodding you with questions every now and then.
Thank you. So we just concluded was one of the biggest cyber resilience summit which Mimecast did, and we had a large audience globally, and especially in that summit we focused a lot on threat intel. Threat intelligence is a very wide topic, and there's a lot of emphasis on threat intel nowadays, especially during this pandemic, what we're going through now. If you look threat intel, so before we even get into that, I just want to talk to you about my experience. We're all working from home, and I started personally working from home since March. I think, Amar, your case is also something similar.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Exactly. We had some great lockdown over here, and the country has done extremely well in terms of tackling this pandemic. Now, while I was working from home, and I have my family here, I have 3 kids, everything sorted. One of my personal friend, his wife had like 6 miscarriages, and she delivered a preterm COVID baby at 33 weeks. He's a fighter. Unfortunately, the whole family got affected, and the family had to go quarantine. And believe me or not, the place where I'm standing now, my home office, I had to convert it to an isolation room and bring them over here. Now, that was a very, very challenging moment for us. We had our Eid holidays during that time, and I was going through this. Now, in that point of time, my key priority was to take care of my family also. So I need to ensure that we are not getting exposed to, the COVID-19 or the coronavirus. Now, I had a lot of friends assisting me, especially one of the friends from Canada who is a scientist and a researcher on COVID, and a lot of doctors. Now, the challenge was the amount of data which I received during the last 1 month of period, or during those 14 days of isolation, is huge. We did a lot of analysis, all those things, but there is nothing actionable which I could get, honestly speaking. There was a lot of prevention, all those things. We did a lot of analysis, and those data, I couldn't do anything certain to make sure that my family is not getting exposed and affected. Now, this is the same situation in cybersecurity, or threat intelligence in cybersecurity. Now, today, if you look at any large organization, most of them have a lot of information which they have either collected, or they have implemented a technology, or they have even implemented a threat intel platform. But what will you do with all these information? That's the question I always ask the folks out in the cybersecurity. Now, there's a lot of information from the threat intel platform. Maybe it's the legacy vendors which have given you a threat intel platform. Believe it or not, Amar, most of the times we get to ask, they are always curious on the tools or arsenal, what the hackers did in the past, or the origin of these threats. Look at the typical situation in a traditional threat intel environment. What's happening is we focus on a lot of their tools. Now, the slide clearly shows you these arsenals of many countries. So if you were to take the instance of tanks, you only need to know maybe an armor of 100 different types of tanks around the world. There are only 122 countries out of 195 have a navy, and there is only 8 to 11 countries, it depends upon the source, have a proper nuclear weapon against any warfare. And there's only one country which has a space force. So you have all these information. Now, when it comes to threat intelligence, it has to be effective. The data, what you're collecting, has to be effective and usable. That's very important, right? And it needs to be contextual, consumable, and instructive. That is also very critical. But you have all these data which is effective, usable, and it's pretty contextual. But if it's not actionable, then it's of no use. Now, this is what is happening in general about threat intelligence globally. Now, you see these large organizations. A typical example is, I heard about attack on Honda. A few of the plants had to halt the production.
Yeah.
You would have heard of Cognizant.
Yeah.
So, though they all have implemented these, next generation technology, they still go through these attacks. So no one is spared over here, right? So most of the times we get to ask a lot of questions. Unfortunately, these questions are like, who the adversaries are? Are they state actors, or who their sponsors are? Who their employers are? And another, I would say, equally ineffective question, where the adversaries are, and what is the source of the attack? Now, this is not what exactly a cybersecurity team needs when addressing a threat. They need to understand the capabilities of these adversaries. What kind of infrastructure they have, and which vertical they are targeting, and the geographical regions. Now, other key questions would be when these adversaries act, a typical timeline, right? Other ways of identifying these timelines or patterns. This is very important to understand. Why do they attack? Nobody asks that. It's very important to ask why. And what are their motives and intent? How do they operate? And what kind of behaviors they exhibit? Now, this is where Mimecast come into picture. So we have a global threat intelligence called as Mimecast Intelligence.
Sorry, Anoop, is that a separate department in Mimecast, or can you expand a little bit on that?
Yes, so the threat intelligence department is headed by Dr. Francis Gaffney, who himself has a lot of experience with the UK military and intelligence. Now, he leads the team, and he has a lot of engineers, like forensics experts, and data analytic people, a lot of people who continuously monitor the global threat landscape. Now, that's the only way we can deliver effective and usable information. They do a lot of predictive analysis in order to save the likelihood of an event to behavior or trend. And we provide a lot of recommendations to our customers. This is to mitigate risk and augment, obviously with their current cyber resilience strategy or cybersecurity strategy, what they have. Now, if you look in terms of Mimecast, we deliver almost 655 million emails a day. That's a huge amount of data going through our grid.
Say that slowly. 655 million email
per day.
Million, correct?
Yes,
per
exactly.
day.
Yes.
That runs into several hundred billion, if not a trillion, probably, in a year.
Absolutely.
And it's only increasing, I guess.
Definitely. So there's a lot of organizations moving into cloud. And when they move to cloud, they definitely need to ensure security. And, nowadays, the cyber warfares are so high, it's pretty critical that you have a proper or solid defensive strategy against these threats which comes through internet. It can be email, it can be web, it can be any kind of attacks. And if you look at our archive, for example, that's one of the largest repository of data what we have. We have almost 40 petabytes of archive across our global grids, and we have almost 15 data centers globally based on grid computing architecture.
Right. Can we spend one more minute on this? So you have several petabytes of data, but how does a Mimecast? What do they do? You said you've got a separate department led by a doctor. You got researchers,
Francis.
but Dr. Francis, what happens? Can you shed some insight? I mean, you don't want to give away all your secrets, but there's all this petabytes of data, the archive. I mean, how do you gather so much threat intel, and how are you prioritizing it? Because as you said, actionable threat intel, correct? Something that
yes.
Shall I block this email? Right? That's actionable. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's no point telling me, for somebody to phone me and tell me, oh, there's a major email attack going on, and then I go, right, how do I block it? Oh, I don't know. Right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So how do you guys get the actionable bit out? Can you shed some information on that? Yeah.
Amar, if you look, most of these cyber attacks today, 94% of them comes through email. And it originates through email because hackers use that as a medium to enter into your environment. And maybe almost 99% of them are triggered by a human error. Now, in our scenario, when this travels through email, we stop it right at the gateway or at our grid. And the team analyzed each and every threat we have seen. And when we see, after the analysis, we see something is wrong in it, we apply the security to every customer across the globe who is using Mimecast. For example, for us, we have 38,000 customers. So imagine one customer is seeing some kind of malicious activity. Immediately that analysis is done. And this is a 24/7 activity happening in UK, US, and Australia, right? So the team immediately applies certain security parameters to secure any of our customers globally. That's one way to do it. If you look on the other side, in terms of improving the awareness, so Michael Madden, who heads our awareness globally, he himself is ex-FBI. And there's a lot of, analysis, psychological analysis even we do on our, when I say users. So what is the amount of time a user in an organization took to click a malicious link, for example? Or is he even aware that there was a code behind an image and he clicked it out of curiosity, right? This happens, human error. Now, if you look at a typical threat intel at Mimecast. So at Mimecast, what we do is we focus on making the data more usable and effective by making it contextual, showing their, the own platform of, or what you say, the performance of an organization's cybersecurity month after month. So you can actually understand what is my performance or cybersecurity performance month after month or YOY. You can even benchmark against your peers, or when I say peers, it can be that I'm addressing a healthcare organization. You can see where I stand compared to other healthcare organizations globally. And is this actionable, allowing them to take a proactive approach to new or emerging threats? Are you able to identify the most vulnerable users in your organization who pose the greatest risk and more efficiently deploy very limited resources? These data has to be easily consumable. When I say consumable, quickly review it. Most of the time the challenge is, okay, there's a lot of data. Now the InfoSec had a recent threat or something happened to the environment. The challenge is even the IT is not able to communicate that to the business properly. So you need to get data quickly, what happened, analyze it, and present to the business so that they can take the necessary actions required. It should be instructive and designed to help them to better understand the nature of the threats these organizations face. So these are typical challenges, what organizations face globally. And what we did recently, Amar, we took one of the customer out of the 38,000, who is the most targeted. For obvious reason, I'm not going to name them.
No, sure. Yeah.
When we did that analysis with regards to the attacks against them, we identified.
Sorry, just 1 second, Anoop. Sorry,
Yeah.
What do you mean by attacks for the people listening in? What do you mean by attacks that bypass threat intelligence? What does that mean?
So it can be threats like a malware. It can be threats like phishing attack. It can be an impersonation. So spoofing global domains is a very easy way nowadays to get into any environment. Those days are gone where the hacker sits and writes a lot of code or go to the dark web and put in some money and purchase a fish kit. Or it's more easier to just spoof your domain and spin off the web page. It hardly takes 15 minutes. Copy that and it looks very legitimate. Even the most tech-savvy person won't be able to recognize anything wrong in that spoofed domains. And what is happening is, again, coming back to that particular example of our customer, 10% of this data was bypassed or was not even classified as bad, which we classified as bad, were not detected by the leading threat intel or EDR vendors. So we were able to clearly understand that there is still a gap. When I say gap, if you group a traditional threat intel, an antivirus, and EDR together, still your company is at risk. And this is more alarming when you consider that.
And Anoop, you bring a very important point. People assume they've got an EDR tool, and I'm not saying you don't get an EDR tool, but people assume that they've got an EDR tool and it's going to be able to detect everything. And this human belief that one product is going to solve everything is very dangerous in cyberspace.
Absolutely.
Because we all know, even a kid knows that the email is the best way to deliver advanced malware. So, and that is changing every single day. Every single minute, a new malware is coming through email. So, dare I say, companies like yourself who offer these kind of services are at the forefront of the attack, the incoming attack. So this threat intel that you are offering becomes almost more valuable, not 100% valuable, but much more valuable than a tool that is only going to look at signatures.
Absolutely. So,
sorry to interrupt you. Thank you. Yes.
No, absolutely no problem. So the problem is we think that the threat actors need to, drop the malware. It's not necessary. It's rather just a link to, an impersonated website. And in less than a minute, they can have access to your maybe IPs. And they only need one vulnerable user in an organization. This is what is happening nowadays. We also did, especially during this pandemic period, we did 100 days of detection data. We analyzed a lot of data, and you see these data on the slide. There was an increase of spam, which is like 26%. Across all verticals, when we looked at, we saw 25 million detections, especially in the MENA region. I'm talking about Middle East and North Africa. The detection rate increased all the regions, but especially in the MENA region, it was almost 25 million. And these are like spam or opportunistic detections, which got increased by 26%. The majority of malicious detections were rare, for example, zip files, or, Smoothie, a campaign, a Trojan campaign, which was launched on 4th of March. Hospitals and, which typically are healthcare providers, they are facing a growing volume of ransomware attacks because of this coronavirus and typical COVID-themed phishing emails. And Emotet, that's a dangerous one, was particularly in this region since February. There was a huge spike. Last month only the detections were almost getting lower, but like still 54.
This kind of a global topic in terms of COVID. It's for the criminal. They are rubbing their hands because they know that their success rates are going to go through the roof.
Absolutely. You need to understand that there is a lot of organizations adapted work from home today, and this is an opportunity for the hackers to get into the users' devices very easily, number one. Number two, there's a lot of anxiety and stress going around. That causes a spike in human error and eventually stress in the economy. So all these together, they're ruthless. They take opportunity, as simple as that. Yeah. And we also analyzed a little more further. So we try to understand what is the kind of malicious files, during this period of time. In such a way, certain vulnerabilities allows remote code execution. And this enables an attacker to remotely infect a device by just sending an email. We think that, it's required a large email with a large attachment to execute a code. Even a plain email, which is able to consume a small amount of RAM, is significant enough for a hacker to get in, into the system and take out the data what they need. And if you look at these, the figures what you're seeing on the slide, it shows exactly on each of our grid what kind of data has gone through and how much malicious files and what is the spike in each or every month. You can see that. And moving forward, smishing and wishing. This is pretty common. Even I don't think there is anyone who are spared in terms of smishing and phishing. Especially they try to impersonate the healthcare of the particular country, or the defense or the police force, and try to send some kind of message, or even for a simple matter that there is a link saying that typically these are targeting the mobile users. We need to improve the awareness among, not only in the organization, you need to also educate your family members at home. I always make sure that, when I talk to my parents, I make sure that time is not good. You might receive these kind of alerts. It might be during the night period. Actually, one of my friends called saying that his dad's bank account was completely wiped off in a period of a couple of hours. And there were multiple transactions. And the funniest thing is when his dad tried to call the bank, there was no proper support because of the stress. the economic stress and the working from home, even the call center is not fully functional, right? You're not getting the right support. And during that time, the hacker took away with whatever money he can.
Wow.
So that's another challenge. Now, if you look at exploiting the trusted brands, when I refer to brands, we all heard about Zoom bombing, when I think before the pandemic, Zoom was merely having 10 million users globally. They grew to 300 million users.
In a super short time.
Yeah. Any organization with that kind of massive growth or exponential growth will suffer. That is for sure. But don't think that it's just that Zoom had these issues. Cisco WebEx or Microsoft Teams, everyone had issues. Thing is, they scaled up their, encryption. They scaled up their, abilities to defend and getting better. But as an end user, we need to be careful over here. And if you look at the spoofed websites, especially nowadays, what hackers do, they just go use these Cyrillic characters or homoglyphs, and they spoof it. Nearly what we saw was after the pandemic started, we saw nearly 100,000 spoofed COVID websites. And the targets were like, the CDC, and the WHO, because we are curious to know or read these kind of information. And it comes straight away to our email and we click on it.
Yeah.
And the next one is very interesting, which is, I think everyone would have seen today, because sitting at home, everyone started using Netflix a lot, and even their subscription globally increased a lot. It was an opportunity for Netflix to grow their subscription base, but it was also an opportunity for the hackers to get inside and make them click certain links, even using a device like television. Smart TVs were hacked. In reality, there was a lot of brand impersonation. Our challenge is, how do we solve this? This is where Mimecast helps. So what we did, we tried to understand where are these vectors coming in. It can be an email, it can be a web, it can be, any medium. We need to stop it. Now this is where we try to actually dissect into many organizations' email environment. And we understood that we need to achieve a proper cyber resilience in terms of email. Now, starting with email, I would say, well, if you look at 10, 15 years back at your perimeter, it was only a spam or virus, and we only used to worry about an antivirus or an anti-spam. But the hackers evolved over a period of time, and they started using phishing attacks, impersonation, or business email compromise. Now, this particular environment is called as, we term it as Zone 1. So there's an emphasis or importance to secure your Zone 1. Absolutely, I'm not denying that fact.
Yep.
But if you go to the next level, which is inside your organization, most of the times what hackers do, they drop the malware and they want one of your employees to pick it up and spread it east to west internally. And one of them will execute it and the breach happens. This is a common, tactic which hackers use to get it triggered. We call it as Zone 2. And this is also where you need to implement a proper awareness module wherein to increase the awareness of employees. Now, interesting part is, nowadays, it's not in the perimeter. The threats are continuing on the perimeter, but there's a lot of threat also happening beyond your perimeter. So we are moving from a perimeter to a pervasive way of securing the environment. If you look at what's happening beyond the perimeter, what they do is they just go behind your digital assets, like your domain, and spoof it, maybe using these fancy characters. I wouldn't say it's a fancy character. Homoglyph is a legitimate Eastern European language, and you can spin off a domain very quickly. So this is what exactly happened a week back with Bank of America. So they spoofed the domain and sent certain mails to, they targeted certain customers, and those customers gave away the credentials, and there was a breach. So can you imagine it's happening to the largest bank in US? It can happen to anyone. This is where it's important to think beyond and move from a perimeter level security to a pervasive level security. It can be, as I said, a spam or a targeted attack. If you look, 26 billion emails, estimated damage because of the BEZ emails was almost 26 billion.
Yeah.
Only in last 3 years. And if you look at the unique phishing URLs per day, is almost 222 unique phishing emails.
Unique URL phishing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
And moving forward inside your organization, it's I would say I pointed out that 94% of threats comes through email, but 86% of these threats are either a human error by your employee or he leaks some kind of data internally to an external party, which may affect the brand reputation of an organization. And 71% of these content is distributed internally by end users, right? So it's high time to improve the awareness across the organization, right? To stop the lateral movement of these malicious vectors, yeah. Now, if you go beyond your perimeter, now this is where, it's pretty interesting that you won't believe, most of the times my customers will be surprised by seeing what kind of, spoof domains are available globally. And these hackers are pretty socially engineered. And they target not you, rather, though they target you, but they go behind the people you talk to on a regular basis. Your suppliers, partners, customers, and spoof them and land an attack on you. This is what is happening today. Now, threat actors, they have evolved and they are now targeting these supply chains, creating fake websites and domains. So you need to stop it at outside your perimeter. It's pretty critical. And as Mimecast, what we do is, yes, we have a solution to stop these exactly at your perimeter, which is to secure your email environment. And at Zone 2, we secure your internal email environment, wherein, it's unintentionally, if an employee is spreading some data, which is malicious, we stop it at the internal, using internal email protection. We also improve the awareness of employees by using an awareness module. Beyond your perimeter, we provide a lot of data to the customer to show them how many spoof domains are available. And you can take down these spoof domains in a matter of minutes or a couple of hours. The good thing is...
Sorry.
Yes.
Anoop, hold on. Anoop, you are saying that you, as in Mimecast, offers additional kind of professional services, or is it automatic? Can you just, because that sounded very interesting. Because for those of you who don't know, I'm a CISO also, right? And to me, that's a very interesting value add. So can you expand a little bit on that briefly?
Absolutely. So today, when you look in the market world for brand protection, there's a lot of tools available. These tools are specifically for takedown service. Now, the challenge with these tools are, it gives you a lot of data, but how much time it takes for them to take it down, right? So the hacker got control of he spinned off a spoof domain. He's doing business some other part of the world, creating a lot of brand reputation issues for you. And sometimes even you lose customers. Now, you need to have, first of all, you need to have visibility to these bad vectors. Now, second important thing is you need to quickly take down that spoof domains. Now, while you take it down, maybe it takes a couple of hours or maybe up to 48 hours. During this time, you should be able to deceive or send fake data to the hackers so that either he gets bombarded with a lot of information that he gets confused and he moves away from you and targets someone else, or he sits and work on this fake data. Meanwhile, you're bringing down these websites. This is where Mimecast supports organizations.
And Mimecast is able to keep the hackers busy with fake data.
Exactly. And you as a customer will get a visibility and term that website as suspicious and click a button, you can take it down. And The differentiator is the time we take to take down the spoof domain. A typical example was in Australia, one of the university. The domain was spoofed, and we clearly indicated them that there is some kind of activity happening, malicious activity happening, and you can expect something to happen in the next 10 days. We gave that intelligence, and they were relying on the CERT to bring it down. It took them 10 days, and they couldn't do anything. Eventually,
10 days is too long. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Too long.
Absolutely. And believe me or not, when they authorized us, we were able to take it down in 8 minutes. It was an easy one, but still.
10 days, 8 minutes, folks. So
exactly.
This is the difference between a business surviving and a business losing customer trust.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very important. Yes, very valuable. Thank you. Okay, next.
This is moving forward. I just want to show you the bento box, how our solution framework looks like. So we have all these solutions. At the end, if you look down, there is an ecosystem of APIs and the threat intelligence, which is completely shared across these solutions. And it is free of cost to have a threat intel to get all these threat feeds, right? Cool. Now, looking at slightly, diving into threat intelligence, what you get today is you get an absolutely stunning dashboard. And the dashboard gives you a lot of data which is focused on how you can get ahead of this risk in and out of your organization in order to prevent the breaches. This will also provide you a consolidated view of the threats that you need to take action. So if you remember, in the beginning, I said, you get all these information, but we're not able to action anything. This is where Mimecast supports the customers. At Mimecast, we don't do a lot of threat attributes, but said that we do a lot of predictive analysis to offer customers certain recommendations. But to be clear, we also do a lot of threat attributes activities in our landscape. What we do is we capture these information through the threat actors aliases, though we assign our own identity. So we have a team which is continuously monitoring these, threat actors or threat vectors. Even it can be a state actor. So the kind of information what we have is huge. But what we do is we give away actionable, recommendations. And this is customizable to each customer. This is where our SAFE score come into picture. So we provide a score, which is called a SAFE score. And SAFE score builds out user risk, attacks, what kind of configurations you have, not only on your email gateway. If you look around, you can see it is integrated with different third-party solutions as well. And then eventually we collect these data from each of these nodes, and each of the nodes have their own weightage. So the importance can be applied to each element, right? This is pretty interesting. I haven't seen this many of the organizations doing today, and this is exactly what you need. So to your management, you should be able to show them what is the threat score currently, what you have, and what is the improvement you're making, maybe month by month, right? Moving forward, if you look at one of the attributes we look is the user risk. Now, security professionals often walk a fine line between locking everything down and giving their users freedom to do their job. You are a CISO. I've seen most of the CISO very serious, and they try to tighten the controls of the users. That's what is happening. They say, when we have a lot of security, we don't have the freedom. Why? Right? So because of SAFE score, what you can get is an IT administrator is simply able to log into a dashboard and to understand who are these riskiest users in the organization. Right? Now you see, if you see the screen, you can see that now he's getting an individual user's risk score. So if that particular user has a very low score, the IT has a privilege to tighten the policy for that particular user. So we are giving that granularity to the administrators. If you move on, what we do is then we launch a campaign to this particular, so it's like a targeted campaign to these low-score users. The challenge today is in InfoSec, what we do in terms of awareness is it's a spraying and praying methodology. We drive an awareness module to the whole organization and we sit and pray that the awareness improves. In this scenario, this is specifically targeted to this particular user who has a low score. And you can even target a particular division. Overall, eventually you will see that there is a lot of enhancement or, maturity in terms of the awareness in your organization. Right?
Okay, very good.
Now, as threat intel, what you get today from Mimecast, this is the most interesting part. We provide a lot of graphical view of detections and trends. Now, when I say trends, it's not only your organization, global trends, or take a vertical. So I'm in a healthcare vertical, or I'm in a retail vertical, or even in defense. We will show them what is the landscape today globally, who is most targeted, what are the recent trends, or what are the recent threats, and what is the detection timeline, and which are the unique threats targeting them. It's in the similarly we do a lot. And
sorry, just 1 second. Sorry, Anoop. And all of this from the dashboard that you are showing. So they don't have to open the people who are working in my SOC. They don't have to open another window, another app. Is that correct?
Not at all. Absolutely. So this is on the console where you manage your mail or your web security. It's on the same console, and you can continuously monitor or we monitor it for you. As simple as that.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. Very good. I like what I see.
So, exactly. So if you look at these malware analysis, what we do. So today the problem is, most of the gateway stops the malware. Okay. Sometimes they miss it. Sometimes they stop it. In our scenario, when we stop it, we provide a detailed analysis, an opportunity for the cybersecurity team in your organization to look into what was happening with that particular attack. There was a malware attack. Is it targeted? What kind of information that malware is fetching from my organization? In terms of Mimecast, whenever there is a malware or attachment going to the environment, we do sandboxing. Now, every technology out in the market does sandboxing. But what we do is we do something primitive called as a static file analysis, which means we run through the binaries of the attachments and looks into the zeros and ones to understand if there is any static code running, right?
Okay.
So there is a lot of additional layers, and it's necessary to have these additional layers. Even if you look at virus, for example, we have like 5 to 7 engines available, out of which like 3 to 4 are commercially available engines other than our proprietary engines to secure your environment.
Right.
Now, this is most interesting in terms of threat remediation. When I say remediation, most of the times when we talk to our customers, they don't know exactly what they don't know in their environment.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. So, because when we try to implement something, then we see, we are seeing a lot of activity in your network. Were you aware of it? No. Now we are giving them this data. Are you able to action anything on it? This is where threat remediation comes into play. Whether it's in your email, whether it's in your archive. What we do is, imagine there is a malicious exchange between an employee A and employee B. We immediately go to that mailbox and rectify it, remediate it. We pull it out. And then there is a notification gone to the administrator, and that person can go to the threat intelligence dashboard and understand, let me analyze what went wrong. I had a prospect which I was talking to. They said they have 2,000 employees and 4,000 customers. Now, the executive assistant of the EA to the CEO, triggered an email to all the customers. It happened during early morning, like 3 a.m.
Oh my God!
Imagine the damage it would have created.
You mean the former EA to the CEO?
No, the current executive assistant. She triggered an email.
I'm joking. I'm joking. As in former.
Yeah, now you can tell. Is it a former EA or is it a former CISO? We don't know, right?
Correct.
That's a problem. Yeah, absolutely.
So what did you do? So what happened with that EA? The story with the EA?
No, they definitely had to communicate to all of their customers that know this was a man-in-the-middle attack, and it was not triggered by them. And now they are seriously involving all the security experts to advise them how to stop this happening in the future.
Yeah.
And when we investigated, we understood that they were about to make a payment of $64,000 to a hacker.
Yeah.
They almost did. They almost reached there. So we were able to pull out that and show them that this was not a legitimate supplier, and you would have made that, right?
Yeah.
So now, how do we do this? Now, this is where not only Mimecast, we have a lot of integration between all these technologies around the globe. These leading, SIM solution, or you take a leading antivirus solution, or a single sign-on solution like Okta, Splunk, CrowdStrike. If you go to Splunk store, you can download a Mimecast app, and we have bi-directional integration with them. Or if you look at Palo Alto, look at Microsoft Azure Sentinel.
Yeah.
So this is pretty important to have some kind of data sharing which is actionable. Now, it would have been so easy for your IT team to understand that, okay, the antivirus picked up some threat or the gateway picked up some threat. Immediately a policy is applied across. And a SIM is able to instruct a SOAR to remediate it. This is what is important today. Right?
Absolutely.
And, talking about Mimecast threat intelligence, Amar, believe me or not, by 2021, we will have approximately 2.5 million shortage in terms of cybersecurity skills. It's 2.5 million globally. Now, there's a lot of data which needs proper investigation. When I say data, the threat intelligence data which organizations receive. And this is not a small, it's a tedious process, and it's an enormous challenge which organizations are facing today. So there is a need to do a lot more with very less people.
Yeah.
This is where organizations like us can support enterprises with realistic and actionable information to augment to their cyber resilience or cybersecurity strategy.
Imagine what I like, and we speak to many clients. We do a lot of trusted advisory with CISOs, banks globally. What I like, I'm very passionate about threat intel. I think it's an extremely important aspect of reducing your risk. But what I like in Mimecast is you are equally, from what I understand, you are equally passionate about threat intel, as much as you are about email security. And to me, that's very useful because we were saying earlier, you can have an EDR tool, you can have an antivirus tool. It's good. I'm not saying don't have them, but threat is changing every day today. There's a new ransomware popping up every half a minute maybe, or 10 minutes. And the EDR tool is not going to be able to catch up. But someone like Mimecast, because you have such a large global presence, you are capturing that threat intel and making it actionable. To me, the more you do that, and because you are so, in terms of you're covering almost every country, and with so many, I think you said 40,000 customers or something, 30, that to me, that really helps, because then I'm getting scale. You're leveraging everybody's threat landscape and providing that. To me, that's what's really good value to me.
Yes. And that's an example of this is if you look at our threat hub. So just go to mimecast.com threat hub. You'll see enormous amount of data and even live data going on there. And these are reports which our experts have formulated, the 100 days of COVID-19. And I think, Amar, you have attached it, right?
Yes, this report is available to everybody who is on the webinar. They can download it. now and when they listen in afterwards, this report will be available. Yes.
Correct. The call out to action, to most of the listeners out here is, as Amar also emphasized, you might have most of these technologies implemented. Now you need to ask yourself, how much of data sharing is available today between these technologies? Number one. Number two, if you have a threat intel available, you have a lot of data, but how much of data are you able to action, and how much of that particularly for your organization? Now, in Mimecast scenario, if you have a threat intel, we have something called bring your own BYO threat intel, bring your own threat intel, and integrate with us, and we will provide you actionable information to secure your environment.
I think we may have to do a separate webinar on that. Bring your own threat intel.
Exactly.
We are running out of time. Can you explain it very quickly in 1 or 2 minutes? What is bring your own threat intel?
So as of today, as I said, you might have a threat intel which has been implemented in your environment. Now, what you can do is we can integrate with Mimecast intelligence. We already have enough, analysis of data done, and we can also analyze that data and correlate it and provide you actionable steps. So we can guide the organization's IT cybersecurity team. What is the next step to be taken in your environment so that future threats won't come in? Or we can even proactively alert them, or you can authorize us to do those changes as well. Yeah. So we have something called as Turbo. Now, Turbo is, as I said, every threat globally is analyzed by our engineers. Now, we see something wrong, we'll apply a security policy for all of the customers globally who use Mimecast. It's pretty important, and that's very quickly applied.
Yeah, and that's the key word. Very quickly applied is very important.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you, Amar.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the time.
Are we done? Oh, okay. Yes. I mean, it's been so engaging. Actually, we've done almost closing to the hour. 1 or 2 questions which I've already asked. They came up earlier. So I think we have no other questions. Anoop, it's been an absolute pleasure. So I think the next webinar we do, let's try to get someone from that actual research team, and they can join us and maybe look under the hood, as they say.
That'll be wonderful.
Yeah, and then we can get a bit more insight as to because I mean everyone does email security, but what I like I said, you guys are as passionate about threat intel as you are about your main offering. So to me, that's really exciting as a CISO.
Absolutely.
Anoop, thank you so much for your time, sir. And I know it's really warm up there in Dubai, but today it's really warm up here in London. So we don't have an air condition here today. But otherwise, thank you so much for your time, Anoop. And to all the listeners listening in now and all listeners looking at it later on, have a good day.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for attending. Wish you a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.